welcome. So how is stress ruining your relationships? Welcome to today's live. I'm Connie Rose and I'm live with JoyScore today. And we've got little Mr. Good Vibrations here. And pets can be a good example of how to relieve stress, right? Obviously, if you don't want to look after them, that becomes stressful. And if you're just joining now, hello, welcome. And you're welcome to ask any questions. So, how is stress ruining your relationships? Basically, the way that you show up in any relationship is going to affect the dynamic. It's going to affect how the other person responds to you. And so if you have a bad night's sleep, you are going to be more agitated to what's going on. And so if say you're in a partnership and you are stressed, you're going to respond very differently to something that might trigger you, right? So say someone does something that triggers like part of you, you may react in a way that is way bigger than necessary because of your state. And this has happened like so many times to me when I've been when I haven't had enough sleep. I have felt myself like mean. Like I felt myself like just angry. And what that does is it changes your energy that you're putting out there. And it creates this kind of energy. Rather than if you're in a loving, calm state, it's a very welcoming energy, right? And so that's why I personally put my morning practice as my number one priority, because how I show up to the rest of the world affects all of my relationships. So, and also when I'm in that loving space, I'm being a magnet for all that is good, and I am attracting goodness. I'm attracting people on that same frequency. If I am propelling the frequency of stress, anxiety, then that is what I'm attracting. And the biggest gift you can ever give your partner, and Tony Robbins says this all the time, is to be in a good state physically, right? So that is why I use breath work in the morning and meditation, because it changes my physical state. My breath work, it's like it changes my physical state, and then I show up differently. And if you say are visiting family, and perhaps family has been really hard for you, hi, welcome. Perhaps family's been really hard for you to visit, right? And maybe even you're stressed before you're visiting them. And so already you are in a stressful state even before you're not there. And so you're imprinting that image into the future already. And quantum mechanically, we're all connected. So if you are already imprinting that into a situation, they might even be picking up on that and feeling that. So the biggest gift you can give yourself and them is to change your physical state. And the more you do this, the more it will become who you are every day. And if you do the deep work of getting to the subconscious and doing subconscious trauma work that gets to the root cause of your anxiety, because stress really is just anxiety. And a lot of the time, there are good types of stress, and I'll get into that in a minute. But if you are putting yourself into a calm state, then you are going to be able to handle whatever state they're in. So say you have family members that are very stressed. What can happen is or anyone, right? What can happen is we can merge with that energy, and if we're not really, really secure in our own being and our own energy, we can just pick up on their energy and feel it in our body, especially if you're sensitive or you're like an empath and you're easily affected by other people's energy. Then that can make you stressed, and if you have the memory of what it was like in the past seeing them, then that can make you stressed even before, and so you're agreeing with that reality. But if you practice meditation and other forms of changing your state, and as I've said, like breathwork is one of my absolute favourites because it's such a physical state change, you will see a massive, massive difference in your interactions, even with someone who is already stressed. But if you turned up stressed, then you're just going to enhance that dynamic, and it's just imprinting more of those patterns. So, and breathwork is so effective because it's affecting your somatic body. It's affecting your physical body, and we can store so much emotion in our physical body. And so if you practice releasing those stored traumas, then rewiring your brain into a calm state of being and someone that has a positive outlook, because your outlook and your perspective changes your stress levels. And when you don't do that, then you are pushing people away, or you are attracting people of that same dynamic, and people and situations, right? And you are never going to have a healthy, happy, fulfilled relationship with anyone if you don't manage your state and you don't manage your stress levels. It's just not going to work because you're agreeing with that frequency. So if you've got any questions, just type them in. What are some ways to relieve stress? Okay, so if you are stressed in a relation, in any kind of situation, and say you're we're talking about relationships today. So say you're in a relationship dynamic, you're with someone else, and you are feeling stressed. What you can do is just take a look around the room and start just in your head naming things. Like, that's a lamp, that's a sofa, that's a carpet, right, or tree or whatever. Because what that does, it takes you away from a looping pattern, and even if we're not consciously aware of that, that's what's happening when we're stressed. We are cycling fears, basically. We're cycling future fears. So when you start naming things in the room, you are bringing yourself to the present. Hi, please feel free to ask any questions about stress we're talking about, and about how to have healthy relationships, so welcome. And if you are able to just take a break and go to the toilet and go to the bathroom, what you can then do is you can use tapping. So tapping on the meridian lines, and there's two signs of like kind of little like nuggets here. You just touch your collar, it's like below your collarbone, and you can just tap. Hi. So you can just tap like this, and just say, even though I feel stressed, I fully and completely love and accept myself. Even though I feel stressed, I completely and fully love and accept myself. And then you change it to, I am learning to release this energy now. And then I am releasing this energy now. I am bringing the energy back to my body. Yeah. How am I feeling? I'm feeling good. I'm feeling really good today. And even just those few seconds of tapping on the meridian lines has brought me to a deep, calmer state. So even if you just try that right now, you will notice a difference. And another thing you can do is haveling. So it's like moving your fingers and arms, hands down your arms, opposite arms like this, and just saying, I am safe. I am safe. I am safe. I do not need to engage in conflict. And if you do engage in conflict and you approach it from a calm space, you are going to alchemize that situation way more effectively than if you enter it like this from that stress state, because that's a fear state, and fear is repelling energy, right? It's repelling. But if you are in calm, loving state, it's attracting goodness. It's like welcoming other people that are on that same frequency. And as I said before, like if you're visiting someone that is toxic or like very stressed, thank you, have an amazing abundant day too. If you are encountering someone that's stressed and you enter that situation from a clear, calm space, knowing that you are fully protected, you're going to be able to change that situation. And even if that person is spiraling, you're not going to be involving yourself in their energy. And that's what empaths do so often. So learning to bring your energy back to your body by looking around the room, naming objects, taking a deep breath in, and as you breathe out, come back to bring the energy into your body. So let's do that again, deep breath in. And as you bring it, breathe out, bring the energy back into your body. You can put your hands on your heart and just say, I am safe. I am safe. And so say you're going on a date. It's really important that you put yourself into a good state, and I naturally made this, you could say it was a mistake, but all things kind of happen for a reason, right? And if that person, I'll tell you the story, but so basically something crazy had happened, and it put me into a very sort of fearful state. And then I had a meeting after that, and even though I did all the clearing techniques, because it was such a big shock, I entered that meeting still carrying that stress. And so that meeting did not have the frequency of clarity, love, freedom, expansion. It had a frequency of stress and fear, and that was picked up, and so the meeting didn't have the result that I intended. And so that was a big lesson for me to actually, I could have changed that meeting, but again I was operating from fear and stress, which is the same as anxiety, thinking I can't cancel, I can't rearrange, but actually in hindsight I think I wish I had, but ultimately I think a truly understanding person would not let, would have more compassion and not let that affect the relationship. So do be conscious about how you're showing up in relationships, because you have a responsibility to change your state, to show up in an abundant, expansive, clear, loving state, and then your relationships will be a reflection of that state. And if you are in a couple and maybe you are awakening but your partner isn't, and you are learning to control your body and become calm in situations, it can be really challenging to be with someone that's not learning that path. So the more that you take responsibility for your part in the relationship, and have that awareness that you can't change them, but if you are showing up in a calm situation, they are way more likely to be affected by that. Because if you are showing up with the same frequency that you've always showed up in, like this is a stressful relationship, or this is how I respond to situations, this is how I judge people or talk about people, remember that all feeds into your fear state. If you're showing up like that, then you're just increasing those patterns. You are just laying down those patterns again and again. And the more you repeat something, the more it wires in to your body, and the more it becomes you. Okay? So the more responsibility you can take for your own state, the better your relationships will be. And maybe you're outgrowing that relationship if they're not willing to change and do the work. And also, like, number one, the biggest thing for to enhance your relationships is get good sleep. Because if you don't get good sleep, your whole state is different, your whole outlook, perspective, anger will likely come up, or resentment. And so get good sleep, and also think about what you are consuming. If you are smoking, say you're smoking weed or drinking, because it's at the time increasing your dopamine, there is going to be a crash. And so the more you have of the drink and the smoking, the bigger the crash. And that changes your state, and so that changes your relationships. So if you have toxic or stressful relationships in your life, look at your state, look at your stress levels. Because when you change your stress levels and change your state, your relationships will change. So have you got any more questions? How did I learn to meditate? I learned to meditate by doing, first of all, Vipassana, which is a 10-day silent meditation. It's actually a form of body sensation meditation. It's my favourite, but I now do my own thing. And I really recommend that to anyone, because it's such an intense process doing a 10-day silent meditation, but it really will change your life. And they're free all around the world, so you can check dharma.com, I think, something like that. But if you just search out do a Vipassana into a search engine, then you'll see it come up, and you can apply, and it's all by donation, so it's an amazing resource to have. And if you want to learn to meditate, please reach out to me. You can find me Connie Rose Coaching. And yeah, I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. And remember that you have the power to change your relationships by changing your state. And it takes practice and consistency. So please reach out to me for any tips, message me, I'd love to chat. And follow JoyScore for more lives like this. And I'm wishing you peace on your journey of growth and acceptance in the process. Lots of love.